So first off, Jared, thank you so much for most importantly taking the time. For everyone out there, JR is the master of process. I'm always scared to show him my own process because he rips it apart, and I've never seen a freelancer with a more detailed, concise, and just good process. But so, JR, where are you sitting?
Say that again. I can barely hear you.
Where are you sitting? Whereabouts are you right now?
I am in Sunrise, Florida, which is about 20 minutes away from Miami, north and west. Maybe
Awesome.
about 10 minutes away from the beach, which hopefully I'll be there this weekend.
Yep. And for context, your country just opened up and is on its way to wave 2 of quarantine or of COVID. And so exciting times.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how people are treating it. I'm at the point where it is what it is. If it's something I got to live with, something I got to live with. People just need to be responsible.
So let's hear a little bit of what was life like. What was JR like prior to freelance, and then how did you get into it?
So my life prior to freelance was actually still the same. I'm a workaholic, a lot of work, but it just came down to I got tired of making everybody else millions of dollars. So I was like, how can I make myself more money? I just want my own piece of the pie. So I took that and just started freelancing. Just took the skills and everything I learned from actual application and seeing large and small companies do certain things and completely fail, and looked at processes overall. And I was like, okay, all these things are wrong. I can do these better. And instead of having to deal with stakeholders and rules, and we have to follow this and that and speak to people this way, I'd rather just be able to just do it myself. If somebody hires me as a freelancer or an expert, subject matter expert, consultant, whatever the case may be, you're hiring me for my expertise. So it's basically, you're asking me to tell you what to do. So don't question me about it. If you want the why, I can take you into the weeds over it. And then that's pretty much where I sit now.
Why I'm so scared of you. But so what were you doing? Like pre-freelance, what was the skills, the job? Like what were you doing before someone, you could tell someone, don't give me the why, I'll give you the what. But yeah, what was life like?
So I was doing marketing in the fitness industry. I was actually running franchise brands. I started with one small location on Fort Lauderdale Beach, and I basically restructured how they sold, marketed, and got the company out of being completely in the red and in the hole to make a profit. And then from there, I moved on to a larger location, and I was the top guy. So everything from scrubbing the toilets to planning actual brand strategies and training teams and expanding, I was doing everything. So based off of that, I just had my methodology, which was, of course, work hard and figure out what's the best process for each individual franchise and business. I built a massive network of people, especially down here in Fort Lauderdale. And obviously, this is where almost everybody vacations. So you get to meet people from all walks of life. And during that and meeting all the people I learned, or meeting all the people I met, I learned a lot, especially from a lot of people that were very successful. I had personal friends that are extremely successful and learned from them. And I just continue to apply what I learned and continue to move forward. And I got tired of, excuse my language, I got tired of people's bullshit. So it's more of, what can I do to get myself where I need to go? And I like to see everybody win. If I'm winning, great. If the person next to me is winning, great. If a business I'm working with is winning, great. That's what I like to see. So that's pretty much what I follow.
So you answered the why. No more bullshit. I think that's the best. Anyone who's been in corporate America, that probably is like, they're probably banging at the door saying, oh no, I don't want the bullshit. I don't want to answer this email right now that actually has no value to it, just so I can hit my performance review. But what was that first freelance project?
Oh, first freelance project. Man, that's so long ago, I don't even know. Actually, first freelance project was a small fitness studio that had just opened, and they had no marketing, no idea. It was somebody that had some money, and a friend of theirs, I think, or a girl, I don't even know, basically opened the studio. They invested in it and they were just pouring money into it. They had maybe like 3 clients and nobody's coming in the door. And they were like, what am I doing wrong? And I literally met them at the gym and hung out with them at the bar a few times. And they were like, hey, you seem like you know what you're doing. And then it went from there. They ended up listening to what I said. Obviously, they paid me to do it, and they did great. Ended up selling it, and I don't know where they are now. I haven't spoken to them in years, but they were happy with my results. So
that's awesome. And so, how did that turn into the second? Because I will say, I had a very similar first freelance project where you know someone, they need something, you say I can help, and then you don't realize that you just freelanced. But so, how did it go from hey, we're good friends, you want to do this, I can help, to that second, third? Like, how did that sort of grow?
So I have a motto. You probably see me post on LinkedIn all the time. Help first, sell later. A lot of people are focusing on sell to make profit. Everybody likes, I love money, obviously. So it's great to have profit. It's great to have cash flow and revenue and so on and so forth. But a lot of people focus on selling. So projects after that just came out of word of mouth. It was more of people were like, hey, I know this guy. And then I would get the phone call or I get the email to text, say, hey, I know somebody that they're looking for this. Can you help them out? And it's like, yeah, let me see what I can do. And instead of looking at it as a revenue stream, it was like, okay, what does this person need and how can I help them? And work off of building trust and actionable, quantifiable data and results, and then move from there. Rather than say, just go out there and spam 3,000 people on LinkedIn and pray to God that somebody's going to buy your service, which absolutely makes no sense. And I get it. You want to get in front of 1 million people. I've been in sales before. I understand it completely. But even back then, my approach has always been help first, sell later. Build your trust. And it's realistically, if I can help you and you need my help and you want my help, great. If I have to sit here and pressure you and sell you on it, then either 1, you're not ready for it, or 2, you don't know what you want. So I'm not going to waste my time or yours. And then it just kept going on from there. And eventually I figured out, I was like, I can continue to do this. And that's how I continued freelancing.
Were there ways, I'm going to use some of your language, were there ways to optimize the existing work that you did to then lead to the follow-up opportunities? So for example, for me, the big thing was every project quantifying the outcome and inputting it into a case study template along with the recommendation, and then that would turn into, you know, the next social proof and the next project. But so what were some of your optimization strategies to not waste your time and keep doing things net new, but really build up from what you've done?
Well, 1 is obviously knowing what works, but 2 is finding out what you can do better. There's always room for improvement. So, and I'll do this from a technical standpoint. Like if you're optimizing a website, if you have a landing page that you're working on, and that landing page, you want people to get into your funnel, and your funnel is, say, a 3-step funnel, whatever the case may be, but you have 5 different entry points where somebody can get into the funnel. And you optimize this page, it outperforms the other one by 30%. Great, awesome. But that optimization is going to affect a number of different things. So it's going to, 1, reveal a number of other opportunities. And then obviously the first step was getting people into the funnel. Now it's to get them further into the funnel, and obviously to get them to buy. So based off of that, you have to do a quantitative analysis across the board and understand this one, how did it affect all these other factors? And how does it play out in the end of the day? And then what do I have to do to get it to the next steps? And then from there, just prioritizing it accordingly. That's pretty much it. It's very simple, but yet complicated, because when you get into the minutia, the details, the data, and implementation and whatnot, you can get pretty deep into the weeds, per se.
And were there any sort of like overwhelming indicators that led to the next project? Like, was it a relationship? Was it just doing awesome work? Like, what would you say top of mind was the number 1 thing that led to the next projects?
Doing awesome work, being accountable, being being able to be trusted. I have relationships with people that they still reach out to me today. They're on the other side of the country, in some cases, the other side of the planet. And they're like, hey, I know we haven't spoken in 3-4 years, but I have this. Could you take a look at it? One, they trust me. And two, my work spoke for itself. So based off of that, it's continuing to always move forward. I'm never satisfied. If I have a big win, it's like, okay, that's great. What's next? You always got to look at what's next, because you can always get better, whether it's your business, personal life, whatever the case may be. And that's literally what's always worked for me. People just look at it as like, this guy's really good. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but literally that's what I get told. It's like, you're really, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's like, if you think that's really good, it's like, there's so much more we can do. And just continue. So it's managing the expectations. Like I'm here from freelancer client perspective. I'm here to help you succeed. And then based off of that, you'd be amazed at the work some people see or deal with. It's extremely subpar, and it's kind of like, and they're like, yeah, we're seeing this. And then you take the deep dive and you're like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up. You gotta fix it. And then so on and so on and so on. And that speaks for itself. Just being honest, being truthful, building trust, helping helping first, selling later. If you do the right thing, the money will come. It's that simple. The days of selling the best things in sliced bread are over. Back in the day, as I call it, you'd have every company saying, oh, this is the best product, so on and so on and so on. And there was no real way to prove it. People were just going off of what they were saying, what professionals were saying, and so on and so forth. But when they actually got the product was crap. It didn't work. It wasn't what they expected. They were told it was the greatest thing, and it's not. They had nowhere to go to actually say anything about it. In today's society, if you sell somebody a new phone and the phone turns out to have a bug and be a complete piece of crap, and you go to market to it and you put an entire brand strategy behind it and funds and entire campaigns to show that this is the best phone in history, and then after 2 hours of use it shuts off, guess what? The internet is going to be on fire about your stuff. So if you're going to do something, you got to do it right. You got to do it well.
Yeah. And when you're a freelancer, the kind of crazy thing is the trust, like the reputation, travels so much faster than when you're working in a company. And the feedback loops are so much shorter. So a company, right, if you last for 6 months, you're probably never going to get fired. And to get fired after 6 months, you got to be really, really bad. But a freelancer, you might do something, a 2-week project, and you totally stink, and now that can really burn you. So what would you say has been some of the serious drivers to success for you as a freelancer? And keep in mind, a lot of freelancers might be in, say, month 6 or month 8, and be looking up and saying, holy crap, I missed when I was at month 1 or 2. This was so exciting. This was so sexy. I was making so much money. I had the flexibility. But now either I am totally burned out and I've been working 80 hours a week, or they're on the down cycle where the clients have dried up and they're looking at their LinkedIn saying, do I email as much people as possible? So what would you say has been some of the key drivers to success for your freelance business to, number one, not get stuck in the roller coaster, and number 2, actually grow your business?
So one, having a process. Obviously, as you know, I like processes. I have a process for everything, whether it's a process for proposals, projects, whatever the case may be. Always have a process and continually build on that process and improve it. Always reflect back on the work that you've done and align that with your personal goals or your business goals. In my case, I'm scaling the agency. So I have certain goals I want to achieve, and I have a process set in place for that. I set actual timelines and try to meet those or exceed those timelines and continue to move forward. Freelancers, a lot of the time, especially when they get burned out or start losing work, it's because they're just focusing on the work. And that's great. If you want to just focus on doing the actual craft, okay. If you want to scale out and manage a project and build a business or build a team and then manage the overall landscape of the craft, you can do that too. It's a matter of doing the introspective look and understanding specifically, what is it that I want? Do I want to be in the weeds all the time, or do I want to be the gardener overseeing the actual garden? It's two different options. Say code. All they want to, I just want to code. I don't want to look at reports. I don't want to do anything. I just want to design and code and work on that. Great. But figuring out specifically what works best for you, what your bandwidth is, and understanding your capabilities and aligning everything with where you want to go. I've seen it over the years with freelancers that have done great with it. And I have seen freelancers in there, as you say, get burned out or start losing clients, and then they get frustrated, and it turns into the vicious cycle. So always going back, doing that introspective or the retrospective, and understanding, okay, how did I get to where I was? What did I do? How can I do that better across everything? Whether you're doing the work, whether you're leading a team, whether you're starting a business, whether you're starting a second, third, fourth, doesn't matter. Always looking back and saying, okay, this was a process. How can I do this better? Or how can I change it? What can I add? What can I take out? So always be a tough critic. That's the best way to do it. Somebody can tell you did amazing work. Great. Fantastic. Pat yourself on the back for 5 seconds. Now take a step back and say, okay, how can I do that better? So I can do it again. So I can do it more efficient. So I can do it faster. And then go from there.
So what would you tell, so very, very, I love how you separate the two paths, right? Like you are a, let's say, complete artisan, and that's all you do. You just code, you just design. Or you are the enterprising, you lead a team. And so what would you tell someone that wants to grow their freelance business, doesn't want to pick either two, or wants to grow their business, but doesn't want to be a middle manager? Because I haven't even met one person that wakes up and says, I cannot wait to be in middle management, and that is my dream calling. So in freelance, when you say, hey, let's go work with other people, you just left corporate in order to get away from having to do management. But what would you say to people that want to work with other freelancers but don't want to be a middle manager?
So when it comes down to that, it's understanding specifically what it is you want. Whether it's I want to do the work, or I want to be an enterprising individual, or if you're the middle ground where you kind of want to do the work and lead a team, then that's managing your actual bandwidth. I mean, there's stuff that I do that I'm building an agency, but there's still work that I do that I like to do. There's certain projects that I 100% take on and I won't pass on to anybody else because I want to do it. But I also understand my bandwidth and I value my time, and being able to understand I can do this much with this and continue to move forward without affecting my overall performance. So it's really, you have to be humble and modest in regards to what you can do. If somebody could say, I'll work my face off, and I get it. I'm a workaholic. I'll work no sleep and just keep going until I pass out on my keyboard. I don't care. But there's only 24 hours in a day. So if there's only 24 hours in a day, you need to prioritize things accordingly. Here's a question I get, or it's not even necessarily a question, for like requests and stuff. For example, I had somebody ask me last week to provide a certain report or build a deck. And for me, it was a deck where I could build it. I can present it however, I can build it however. It's what do you want, what do you need, what do you want to see? It's my 3 questions when it comes to things like that. And it's even with work across the board. And their answer to me was like, when can you have it to me by? And my response is, when do you need it by? See how it's kind of different there? So then I can set the level of expectation. If the person's going to tell me, oh, I need it by, can you have it by the end of the day? If it's not feasible, I can literally say, well, I have these other things that are higher priority that I am working on, and X, Y, and Z needs to happen so I can provide you with this information. I can have it to you by this date. Is that okay? If they say, can you have it to me by next week? and I can have it by the next day, then at that point I can manage my time accordingly. So being able to prioritize and understand your actual bandwidth. If you're a middle manager person and you're trying to manage a team and take on projects, and then you go out there and say you have an influx one day and 50 projects come up, you're going to be able to realistically do 50 projects. So understanding what.
Yeah, one thing I
What'd
really
you say?
like to mention though, one thing I really like that you mentioned that we've prior is like, you don't have to outsource everything. Like it's not a binary do the work or outsource. And I think one of the kind of tough parts is this book came out that said, hey, you can only work 4 hours a week and outsource your whole life. And then everyone ends up building a course that they outsource to build on building a course. And it turns into this just like dumbification of society. But so, yeah, what is your take on like, what do you want to outsource? What do you personally love working on?
It depends. So I've been in marketing, performance marketing, techno marketing, in all forms. So I can do almost everything. There's certain things I can code. I can do emails, creative. There's a lot I can do. As a term, somebody really didn't know this term until like 2 years ago. Somebody's like, "You're a unicorn." I was like, "What?" Okay. So the fact that I am capable of doing all of these different things at different levels, like for example, for marketing, SEO, SEM, social, or paid retargeting, I can code out landing pages, I can build websites, I can do creative work, I can work on there's a million things I can do. It's at that point, it's what specifically interests me. So if there's a project, for example, I have a project that I just picked up the other day. It's with a makeup brand, and I'm taking them from brick and mortar to strictly e-commerce. So it's a complete restructure of the business. And that project interested me. And it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things in it. And I was like, I could parse out the project to different people, but I'm owning the entire project. But I also managed the expectation. If I told my client, if you need X, Y, and Z built out like this, and I gave her an example, which I am capable of, but it's going to be not worth my time, then in that case, I would outsource it to one of my colleagues or a freelancer that I know, and so on and so forth, and go from that point, and then I can figure out the numbers and whatnot. But that's managing the expectation. So for me, it's more about what kind of project interests me, what catches my eye, what things do I really, really want to work on for a litany of reasons. It can be, I want to work on sharpen this skill, or that's a really cool project. I see a lot of potential with it, and I have a vision in my head of how we can put this together. And then there's other times where it's like, oh, that's a cool project, but let me just pass it on to this guy. So it realistically depends, but it also comes down to bandwidth. Because then a really cool project can come up, but I could be working on 5 projects at one time, and my bandwidth is full, and there's no sense in me taking that on, because then at that point I'm doing myself and my client a disservice.
Gotcha. Okay, so 3 lightning questions. You have to answer within 37 seconds. You ready?
Within 7 seconds?
37 seconds. I'll give you a little bit of time. Yeah.
Okay.
What are your go-to tools right now?
Go-to tools: Miro, Google Data Studio, and the Adobe Experience.
Awesome. Favorite book?
Like Adobe, they have all the litany of tools that they have. Those. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins is one of my favorite. Dichotomy of Leadership. Actually, there's a book called I'm Not With the Band. It's by a friend of mine. I'm serious. It's a good book. It's not a long read. It's not like it's big, but it's a very good book. Those 3: Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, Dichotomy of Leadership, and I'm Not With the Band by Tony Capullo.
I have to pick up I'm Not With the Band. That is like the best, the catchiest. We're going to talk to my publishers and be like, what the hell? Why didn't you guys think about that?
It's a good book. He's a personal friend of mine, and he's me when I'm older. Love the guy. He's good people.
I'm just imagining a nice whiskey. Since it's you, still the beard, still that nice beard. But okay,
Actually, yeah, he has a beard.
of course. Last question. Favorite animal?
Wolf.
That fits you so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.